All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Elevated Marketing Podcast. We're almost to the end of 2024. Isn't that crazy?
Wild. I so fast.
Well, Brenna and I attempt to simplify what might seem like complicated subjects with digital marketing. I think we do an okay job.
Yeah. We're on
We do our best. All right. Well, let's do today's fun question. Would you rather time travel to the future or to the past?
I think the control freak in me says future. Like, I kind of need to know, like, I have a plan A, but should I be planning for plan B? Like, that's kind of what I need to know.
That sounds so much like you. Yeah, I'm like, I already know, like, I can easily access the past and like learn from the past. So I don't really want to go back to the past.
Right.
I want to go into the future and I want to see like what's going on. So I'm with you too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how can I do that? All right. Well, today we are going to talk about how content affects SEO. And, I think what we're not going to talk about is all the other elements of SEO. And there are a lot of them. And for the sake of today's conversation, I'm treating SEO as the same thing when I'm trying to optimize for search engines themselves like Google or LLMs like ChatGPT or Perplexity. To me, SEO is kind of melted into that. I know it's search engine optimization, but in general, we're trying to show up in these engines that show content.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And with LLMs like ChatGPT or Perplexity, I mean, it kind of throws a little bit of a curveball, but we're still trying for the same thing. It's just a newer platform, if you will.
Yeah. Either way you slice and dice it, you need content. You need content for marketing. Yeah. Like that's inevitable. What we want to talk about though is why search engines need content and why these elements are. So, the first thing I kind of think about is that whether it's an LLM or it's Google, they need content that is valuable, like to their like users. And if you think about that, like nobody's going to use ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever one you're using, or Google, if they don't have content that is helpful, reliable to their users. Like people don't use their products, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
And so that's why content like is super important, that if you want to show up there, you have to actually be valuable to the end user in order for you to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of times too, when you are providing that quality and valuable content, that also is going to increase your time spent on site, hopefully, which will also help SEO.
Yep. That's another one on our list, is like with your content, if it is valuable, that it's going to reduce bounce rates, increase engagement rate. And so why search engines like that for SEO is because that means that they're actually getting answers to the questions that they were searching for. And so content provides that.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think something else if you've been in the content SEO game, even for a little bit, you know about keyword optimization, and that's important. But the key is to naturally incorporate those keywords within your content rather than keyword stuffing. I think that can definitely raise some red flags if it's just constant keywords throughout the content. It needs to be natural and flow naturally.
Yeah, it's such a shift from what it used to be. It used to be like you were creating these pages for each individual keyword that you quote unquote wanted to rank, and that doesn't work anymore with your content. Like, you can't create content that way if you want to be in there in the search results. It has to be using multiple ways or talking about it multiple ways, because that's what's helpful for the user, because we all think differently.
Yeah,
So
our audience isn't engaging with keywords.
no, they're searching questions, and so it's such a distinct distinction on keyword optimization. It's not the actual keyword, it's making sure you take it from different angles so that you're naturally covering the different ways.
For sure.
So, well, another one, I know, how content really can affect your SEO is content freshness. So, what that means is that you are consistently adding new content to your website. So, it's not about just like putting out one piece and then sitting back and waiting for, you to rank in the search engines. When they see that you're consistently updating your content, they know that you are updating it and making it more relevant. And so the search engines are like, oh, well, this is a good website because it's keeping up to date and enhancing the experience for the users coming back. And so that means that it's frequently like crawling your website looking for new information. But if you're not consistently adding content, then that's going to affect your rankings.
Yeah, and you've touched on it a little bit too, but definitely going back and auditing some of your past content and updating that there is also pretty important. I mean, you need to be looking at how that content is performing overall. And if you're seeing a decline in performance on some content pieces, then maybe it's time to update the content that's in there.
We're doing a piece of content right now that we've actually written about before, but our strategies have changed, our thought process has changed, like what we want to say has changed. And so we needed to go back and we needed to update it. So that's why I guess, this falls into a great evergreen topic.
For sure. Something else I think about is the internal linking that's happening within your content.
Yeah.
Basically kind of piecing some of the puzzle together, not only for your users, but for search engines as well, linking that relevant content or other resources, maybe it's other pages on your site. I think we've known that's important. Internal linking has always been important, but it also still has to make sense for your users.
Well, I think of that like, think about if you had on your desk like all the piles of information that you knew about on a subject, and you just said, here, like, see that I know what I'm talking about. Like, that's difficult. But if you organized it and was like, well, this has to do with this, and this has to do with this, and that has to do with that, that is a simple way to think about how internal linking helps. Is it's connecting and providing credibility to search engines like, hey, I do actually know what I'm talking about. This isn't a one-off subject. I talked about it at a high level here, and then I continually went deeper and deeper.
Yeah. I think about pillar pages a lot too. That's how I try to compare it in my mind with internal linking of just building on top of these other content pieces.
Yep. And then that same thing, like, with your content, if there's somebody else that has written about it, like, that is another way to think about, is having those external links and backlinks, because other people are seeing that your content is valuable and you are providing helpfulness by linking to other people too. And it just goes back to that, am I being helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like content and SEO, I get this question all the time. How long do I need to make the content?
Mhm. Yeah.
it it's not a matter of how long it is. It's, did you fully cover the subject better than anybody else, is how SEO or search engines are going to look at it, as you're the most valuable source because you covered it better than anybody else. Where I
Mhm.
think people get confused on this is maybe people's attention spans these days, and they like, sometimes smaller content. Great. What that has to do with then is, how do you visually break up that content so that people can absorb smaller content? Or how do you put it into a short form, or that? Like, don't confuse that with, I know this subject better than anybody else, and so I fully cover the subject better than anybody else.
And I think a misconception there too is, if the longer the content is, it means it's more valuable, but that's not really defined. So, I mean, yes, long form pieces of content is valuable, but if you're writing pages and pages and pages, that may not be as helpful.
Well, it's not helpful if I have to sort through that entire document to find what I'm looking for. Now, if you wrote a really thorough, but you made it really visually easy to get to the exact question that I might have, that is what is going to work.
Yeah, and I like what you hit on too with the formatting of it, making sure that it's scannable. That's I mean, that's how you can kind of beat the
That
long
goes back to our
content.
user engagement. Like, if people spend more time on it, then they are finding what they're looking for. And so search engines like that.
Yeah.
And if you're providing it in different formats, then people can learn how they want to learn. Just
Yep.
like we're doing a video, we're doing a podcast, we're doing images, like we're trying to get the information to people in different ways.
Yeah. And I think that ties into mobile optimization as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does it need to be scannable for, say, a desktop or a tablet, but a lot of times traffic is coming from cell phones. And so that content definitely needs to be easily scannable on a mobile device as well.
Yeah, if it's, takes too long to load, or it
Mhm.
doesn't lay right or whatever on mobile, and so they don't end up spending a whole lot of time, that's where that mobile optimization comes in, for those reasons. Not just, hey, like, don't stop at, oh well, it's mobile friendly. Well, great, but like, does it have the other elements too?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, this next one, I mean, we just mentioned it, but like, providing your content in multiple formats, but
Mhm.
maybe all on the same blog post, or the same like posting. Like, I can get it in whatever format that I would like it to. And I think for a lot of people, this is overwhelming. Like, hey, I'm just trying to get a topic out. Okay, great, get it
Mhm.
out, but then go back and, how can I put it into a different format?
Yeah. Matching different learning styles.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, we all learn differently. And
Yeah.
also, the more content, I love content.
Yeah. The last one I want to talk about is, and you just made me think of it, like, more content. There
Mhm.
comes a point in your content journey where you are starting to repeat yourself. And
Mhm.
what you need to go do is remember that SEO needs that content freshness too. So sometimes it's going back and updating a subject that you've already written on, and avoiding duplicate content within your own content, because you're diluting the authority of some other pages, because you're confusing it with pages that are too similar. And if you're just getting started in content, that's not a problem at first. It becomes a problem when you're consistently doing content.
Yeah, and I think sometimes a lot of people can kind of fall into this rut when there's the overuse of keyword optimization. If
Yeah.
you're constantly trying to rank for a specific keyword, then you're probably going to write content for that same keyword, and then that's where you begin to get into that duplicate content.
And you might have done that tactic before because it did in fact work a couple years ago, and so that's okay, but now it's time to go back and update it. And so that's why, you always need to be producing content, because you need to be constantly making it work for both the user and search engines.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
well, I hope we gave a not so much like, this is why content matters for SEO, like on real simple terms, but really like tried to dig into like what about that specific actually makes it rank in the search engines, why they want that. So, any last minute thoughts for you?
I think it's just keeping updated on SEO trends, and I hate the word trends, but it comes and goes and it's constantly changing. And like you said, we've talked about this topic once before, but now we're just putting in some fresh information, and that's because SEO changes.
Instead of trends evolving,
Yes.
what we want is constantly evolving. What search engines want is constantly evolving. And so you always have to be out there like talking and having those different conversations.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, and you're on YouTube, certainly subscribe, hit that button. We do have a newsletter. You can come follow me, find the newsletter there, or it's on our website as well. Outside of that, have a great day. Take care.